Our 2 Wants to Know team taking all sorts of calls, okay? And some we can help with, and others really take a lawyer. So no better person than a lawyer to ask about these things. Personal injury lawyer David Daggett is here, and we're going to approach a few scenarios, David,
Sure.
and say, okay, where do we draw the line of when you need a lawyer or when you don't? First up, let's say we're dealing with threats of any sort. When do you call an attorney?
Well, it depends whether you're a child or an adult, and whether it happens in a school environment or in a public environment. There are statutes specifically designed to protect students and minors, and you would report those through the authorities. So teacher, principal, that sort of thing, and they have affirmative obligations to pursue the matter. If it's an employment situation, you report that through your employer. Again, your employer has an affirmative obligation to address the issues. If it's a public matter, you probably want to contact law enforcement and report it through law enforcement. But any sort of physical or emotional threat, that should go through the authorities.
Not you.
Not a private lawyer.
Attorney. Gotcha.
You can call a lawyer for direction and advice, but that goes to the authorities.
Gotcha. All right, so let's say someone asks me to relinquish any type of rights or accept money from them, maybe in exchange for that. All right, so do you call a lawyer then, and then what kind of help can you get about something?
Well, it depends what the circumstance is. Many times, money for your rights means settling a claim. So if you're settling a claim with somebody, you probably want to get some legal advice to make sure you know what you're doing. Of course, it depends on the size of the issue you're dealing with to determine whether or not it's economically feasible to pay a lawyer.
So maybe if you know if it's a bigger deal, if it's going to cost you more, get an attorney's
Absolutely.
advice.
Always, if it's dealing with land or property or something like that, you're better off getting a little advice on the front end than having a big problem on the back end.
And speaking of land and money, okay, so we get a whole lot of calls about various disputes over land, money, possessions of all sorts, restaurant service.
Right.
When do you need a lawyer concerning a dispute?
Well, you have to look at what the economic feasibility is. But to take your first scenario, lots of landlord-tenant issues. The good news is both the city of Greensboro and city of Winston-Salem have mediation programs to help resolve those disputes, because usually you're talking about rent money or the quality of the premises that you're living in or something like that. The next scenario, I think, was something in your food. If it causes a harm, and depending what the harm is, yes, you should get some legal guidance.
There's a difference between a complaint and a dispute,
A complaint,
harm and this and that.
Harm and no harm.
We might not have enough time to get all of that info, but I think that's a good start date.
Either way, preserve the evidence.
Yeah.
And contact somebody who knows more than you do.
There you go. Evidence is important. David, always a pleasure. Thank you so
Thanks
very much. So if you need to see any of this advice again, go to the 2 Wants to Know section on WFMY News 2.net.